Happy birthday, Sir Paul. 2019, January 18th. 77 years old, years young, and still rocking out. I'm going to see him in a few weeks in Vancouver, BC. I've seen him maybe 20 plus times, and I'm gonna do a little like, I don't want to say a tribute. There's so many Beatles friggin' Beatle posts. And in honor of this, for this next few minutes of this video, I'm not gonna eat meat. So this is meat-free VC. Maybe I'll just show you a few little books here, just to show you covers. I have a big Beatle book collection, as you've seen in some of my videos. Literally 1,000 Beatle books, maybe. Here's two. I'm just gonna show you covers, not gonna even talk about these. I'll show you some records. What else? Fab, McCartney. Oh God, so many others. I guess I should have prepared that a little better, but anyway, you get the gist of that. So I'm going to just show you some records and some like music collection, and just randomly, not definitively. This is a Run Devil Run limited edition collector's box, 7-inch singles. This came out back whenever this record came out. I can't remember the dates on these things anymore. As you get older, you kind of forget. Let's see what it says here. 1999, recorded at Abbey Road, 1999. There you go. Run Devil Run is one of his sort of oldies albums he did. He did Lonesome Town. He does All Shook Up, Run Devil Run, Blue Jean Bop, Brown Eyed Handsome Man. It's actually a good record. I have the record as well, but this came in a 45 repro box, and with Parlophone 45s of all the songs on the LP and CD. So there you go, right? McCartney. What else? The archive boxes are pretty good, and those came out obviously on vinyl. Where's Egypt Station CD? I'm sorry, cassette. There you go on that. Paul McCartney and Elvis Costello, official bootleg cassette demo when they were writing songs together. And but I really like these anthologies. I know this is not vinyl, but the McCartney Archive series are really a wonderful series where Paul McCartney really decided to put together his albums with books and artwork, and basically make a true archive of his career. And when archive, it goes beyond music, and it should. There's people who say, "Oh, I don't have to buy this big box because I don't need the books and I don't need the posters and I don't need the this and that." But at this point in his life, and he's been doing this for the last 20 years now, 15 years, he's really archiving, and a true archivist would put together these things. Obviously, there are some that are one record, there are some that are multiple box type of sets. One of my favorites is the Ram. They come in these beautiful clamshell cases. Ram one is fun because it has several books of artwork and photographs, posters, but amazing graphics. So his company, MPL, his team puts these together, and some of these boxes have pretty interesting inserts. Here's another one. This has some photographs that Linda took. Linda Eastman, Linda McCartney. I know Melinda Murphy is a big McCartney fan, and shows a lot of McCartney. She got the big trunk suitcase box, which I'm not going to show. I do have that. Totally overkill, but totally guilty pleasure. And when you're a completist like myself, This is also in the Ram book. Photographs by Lennon McCartney, 1970. A Small Book of Sheep. I mean, again, I should have done this, showed this stuff before or done a complete version. I love the artistic side of these sets. The music is amazing. Of course, I love the music, and that's primarily what's involved. But they're envelopes full of documents and lyrics and all kinds of pictures. RAM, high-res download card, which I've never used, but I need to keep it. The Percy Thrills Thrillington CD. I have the vinyl of that as well. That's basically sort of a big band orchestrated ragtime-ish, not really ragtime, version of the entire Ram album. And it's a pretty wonderful record. In fact, let me show you that. Percy Thrills Thrillington. Where are ya, Percy Thrills? Didn't come out under the McCartney name, but this is it. It's an instrumental version of Ram, very kind of tea room orchestrated version of it. $5.98 Record Factory. That's where I worked. One of the record stores I worked in the 70s. And this is a sealed copy I have. I have two copies. One that open, one's a playable one, and one this one. But this is the last one, actually, aside from the big trunk and new album. This one's pretty amazing. And this is a combo of Wildlife, Wings Wildlife, and Red Rose Speedway. And I happen to be a big fan of Wildlife. Doesn't get a lot of love around the VC and around Beatles circles, but I like it because it's one of the few McCartney albums that for me is held up. It's a very indie, raw record. Beautiful. Obviously, they put out color vinyl versions recently, too. But again, Wildlife for me is a record that I play at least once a month. And again, this has both versions of, it has, CDs and high res. Yep. I'm going to lose everything out of here. Parts and pieces are very losable. Recreations, outtakes of the cover photograph. And the deluxe set came with a special book, Wings Over Europe, that has a live CD of Wings when they toured Europe in 71, 72 on the road. And that's the only place you can get this. Again, some collectors are all upset because you had to pay like, $300 to get that one CD. But you get the book and artwork as well. Again, it's not for everybody, but I get it. These things aren't cheap to produce. I know what things cost in terms of design and archiving and licensing and proofreading and printing and design and, pretty much everything. But it's great to hear this kind of raw version of Wings on the Road, this sort of the very first incarnation of Wings, when they were kind of finding their legs. And, Paul McCartney, after being in the Beatles, just went out and they literally got in a bus with their families, the band, Denny Lane, Linda, and Denny Sewell on drums, and their families, kids, and showed up at college towns and universities and said, "Hey, we want to play in your theater. We want to play in your diner, in your cafeteria." And like, who the fuck are you? Well, we're Paul McCartney's here. So can you imagine Paul McCartney and his band showing up to play at your college? And this is what, 2 years after the Beatles split up? But great stuff. Wings Over Europe. I could go through every single one here, and that would take forever, so I'm not going to do it now. But in this particular box, the other one is Ram. You know, it has a big hit single, My Love, which to me is a song that goes on for 2 or 3 minutes too long. A little schmaltzy song, one of his biggest hits. But I tell you, the Henry McCullough lead guitar solo on that song is, to me, just stunning. But again, artwork in books. There's inserts and fly papers and vellum coverings and recording sessions and notes and liner notes. And this archive, I mean, someone like McCartney deserves this. If anyone, Dylan with his biograph and bootleg series deserves it. McCartney and the Beatles obviously deserve this kind of recreation or archiving of their legacy. Ain't getting any younger there, Paul. But Paul is still doing it. His new album or his last album, Egypt, took me a while, but I got into it, and to me, it's one of his best albums he's done in a while. The top end of his vocals are shot somewhat, but he knows how to do it. He still rocks out better than anyone else, whether it's his Beatles songs or his Wings or solo songs. So I gotta toast Paul McCartney on his 77th birthday. So much stuff here, so much wonderful material. I mean, I could go on and on. I could go on. This could be a 24-hour video. From right here, this is my card when I worked in record stores. I have a whole series of these that Capitol put out. So this goes up through, the irony here, it goes up through Band on the Run. It's funny, there are a lot of order here, but so these they would have made these like 74-ish. And these are the cards that went into the section. So I have all the Apple Records cards for all the Beatles solo plus them, and they list the catalog numbers of the time of the US versions of the album. So from here to here, up to George Harrison, is my McCartney vinyl and archive series. So I don't know what else to say or to show. One of my favorites, the last thing I'll show, just because you don't see it a lot, and it doesn't seem to get a lot of love unless you know about it. But to me, for my personal taste, the best Paul McCartney album out of the last 25 years or so, he did under the name Fireman. And Paul McCartney has done 3 albums under the title Fireman. The first 2 were ambient electronic records, instrumental for the most part, with some vocals, not singing, not lyrics, but background ambient vocals. But the Fireman albums, the first one was called The Fireman Rushes In. That's from very ambient records. But then he did one called Electric Arguments. Hard to get on vinyl. Seek it out on vinyl. I think there's like 10,000 copies or something. But McCartney in youth basically put it together and co-produced it. And they recorded 1 song a day. It's McCartney pretty much playing all the instruments. This is a proper McCartney record. Vocals, rock and roll, acoustic, a little electronic, but not just that. Very modern record. To me, hands down, this is the best Paul McCartney record put out in the last 25 years. So those of you Macca fans, if you don't have Electric Arguments, seek it out, find it, buy it. Probably it's easier to get the CD, and that's fine. It's just a really, really good record. I think, well, I don't know what else to say, but I think I'm going to end up with this. So his own artwork. Again, his paintings. And this was, let's see, this came out, what year did this come out? 2008. So it's only 11 years old. Flyer Man. So happy birthday, Sir Paul McCartney. Thanks for watching this. Here we go. God. Paul the artist. Oh, Paul McCartney. You know, when you're a Beatle fan, and you're addicted like I am, it's not a cheap, it's a very expensive addiction anyway. So, happy birthday, Sir Paul. See you in a few weeks in Canada. And thanks for watching. And, you know, I keep wanting to go on and on and on, but there's so much stuff I have of his, it's overwhelming. But anyway, Mazzy loves you, and thanks, Sir Paul. Thanks for the great music and the great artwork. Bye now.